Hey guys, Angel here. And so now we're going to be going over question 1b, which asks, how many chirocarbons does muscarine have? And so one thing you got to know is what is a chirocarbon. So a chirocarbon is any carbon that is attached to 4 different compounds. And so this would be a chirocarbon because it has 4 different compounds. Now if, let's say, a carbon was attached to 2 different compounds and it had 2 methyls, that is not a chirocarbon. If it had 2 hydrogens, like a CH2, is not a chirocarbon. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so muscarine. We've got a carbon here, and that carbon is attached to a methyl group, an oxygen, and then a carbon that is not a methyl, and then a hydrogen. And so that would be 1 chirocarbon. We got 1 down. Okay, this methyl is attached to 3, or that carbon is attached to 3 hydrogens. That is not a chirocarbon. This carbon is attached to an alcohol, a hydroxy group, a CH2, and then a carbon that is not a CH2, and a hydrogen, so that is another chirocarbon. Okay, and so now this is a CH2. We just went over how a CH2 has 2 hydrogens, not 4 different compounds. That is not a chirocarbon. Next, we've got this carbon attached to an oxygen, a CH2, and a CH2, but then that's where we have to keep counting past the CH2, because if you look at this CH2, it's attached to a nitrogen, whereas this CH2 is attached to a carbon. And so those are 2 different CH2s. They're not both attached to another carbon. And so that does count as making this carbon here a chirocarbon. So now we have 3. Okay, and so now let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. It's a CH2, has 2 hydrogens, so that is not a chirocarbon. And so our answer would be 3.